Greetings, viewers. Welcome to this video. Now in this video, I'm here to deliver what I had promised. In a previous video, I did mention that I would remake this video of me telling the story about how I became homeless, and all of that good stuff in details. And so, because the one I made before, the part one, for two-part that I made, had way too many distractions in the background. TV was playing, there was a lot of noise around, and I just think that it's best that I redo that video. So here I am to do the remake of that video. And yeah, I'm just gonna tell the story how I became homeless. It might be a part one and a part two also. I'm not sure if I can fit everything in one video. So I will see. If not, I will have to cut this video in two, and there would be a part one and a part two, obviously. So, okay, so I'm gonna just dive right into the video because we're not here to waste no time. No. Okay, so back in the year 2022, last year, was when I had moved out of my apartment that I adored, that I was in love with. I made so many memories in that apartment. I had moved out without knowing where for sure I was gonna stay. Now, mark you, I had planned to move, I think, around November or October of the year 2021. And that's when I had called up my landlords, and I told both of them that, because the rent was really pricey for someone who was living alone, because at that point I was pretty much my daughter was still living with me, yeah, kind of. But my two boys were already living with their father, and my daughter was really hardly there. And I find that, to narrow it down to one person, or maybe not one person, but just to narrow it down to an apartment that would still be comfortable for when my boys came over, but not so pricey, because I really, really loved that apartment. You might have seen, if you have been following my videos and my vlogs over the past 4 years or so, you would have seen me made so many videos in that apartment. So I loved it so loved it to death. So when I made the decision back in the year in 2021 to move, to find somewhere cheaper, I was not looking, but I did give the notice to the landlord, because the law here is that you notify them like 3 months in advance before you decide to move. So when I notified them around October, November, yeah, something like that, we fast forward over into the year 2022, March of that year to be exact, and that's when I really had to move. As the day drew closer, because it was at the end of March, as the date drew closer, I wasn't sure what I was gonna do, because I realized now at that point that, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to move. I don't have somewhere to move to. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I knew there was a container where I could rent and put all my stuff, but I didn't know where I was gonna live for sure. And I was kind of in panic, and it was a little bit chaos. It was crazy. But anyways, it turned out that the landlord they were actually going to take me to court. And turned out that I didn't go to court, because, we arranged it differently, and I moved out. I moved out about 2 weeks later than the original date that I was supposed to move out, which is why I was going to be taken to court. Yes, but yeah. Happily, I didn't end up in court. So the date finally came when I had to really hand over the key. I moved everything out, and rented this container, put all of my stuff there, the storage. And then I had heard, like a few days before I moved, I finally handed over the keys. I heard of this shelter. It was a lifesaver, yes, in that moment, but it wasn't the best solution for me. Or maybe it was, just that I'm not really used to that, and that wouldn't have been my first choice anyways. But anyways, that's how it ended up playing out that I had to go to this shelter, but it's something that you have to call, give your story, and if your situation, if your situation is dire enough, then you actually would be eligible to get a spot or a bed for a night or so. So yeah, I ended up doing that. Handed over my key. I stayed with my daughter in the first few nights, I think, because luckily she was already working from the year before, working on getting her own little place, because there are organizations here that help young adults. Yeah, she was 17 at the time. Young adults, well, 18. Yeah, you have to be 18. So she was 18 years old at the time, and she was qualified. She ended up getting a little studio for herself, where she, would have branched off and started her own life independently, and maturely, which is what she's been doing from that time forth. So it turns out that a month before I moved, so around February, she ended up getting her place, getting the studio, and it was, yes, hooray, hallelujah, because I don't know. Yes, there was the shelter that I would have been staying in for some nights, but I was still really relieved and happy that at least some nights I was able to sleep at her place. That wasn't the meaning for me to go stay at her place full time, because that wouldn't have been allowed. She wouldn't have wanted it. Yes, I would have wanted it, because I wouldn't want to have to go to a shelter. So at the moment she was living alone, and I figured, okay, I could stay with her and whatnot, but there was rules, there were rules, and it was, a situation where nobody could live with her. She had to live alone, because this organization was there to help young people to, gain a sense of maturity and responsibility. And and that's what she was still going to school. She was actually studying on her own and all of that. So, her place was for her. Not that I couldn't sleep there a few nights here and there, which is what I did. But anyways, there came the time when I had to call, and every day you have to call, and something you have to do over every day. You cannot just call one time and your bed secure for the next 2 weeks or so. Well, eventually that ended up happening, but in the beginning stages, the meaning is for you to call and secure your bed by 4 o'clock, because there's this place that you have to call, and like this office, it's the dispatch team or something like that. You have to call, and you have to get your bed, secure your bed by 4 o'clock, because when this shelter opens, because that was still winter time, so when it opened at around 8 and you get to go inside, then your name would already be on the list and whatnot. They would have been expecting you. Now in this shelter, there was there are different floors. Okay, so on the first floor there's this big office for the workers, obviously, workers that would be working the whole night, because this is not a day and night shelter, it's only a nighttime shelter. In the daytime you have to get your ass out of there, so in the mornings. So there's the it's a really big building. It's a big building, because prior to that there was a school there and all of that, so imagine, it was really big. But there was this first floor where there was the office, and then there had all the men's room. Now it's a big room. In one room you would have like 4 or 5 bunk beds, so you have men sleeping on the top, men on the bottom. They had their big bathroom there, and then there was the toilet apart. Now on the second floor, which is where I was, which is where the women are stationed, there was it was one big room for women, because there were way more men than women coming into these shelters. So there was just this one big room for women, and inside of there were 5 bunk beds that accommodated 10 women. So there was the bathroom on the same floor for the women, bathroom, changing room, shower, and then the toilets apart. And on that same floor further down, there were lockers, and lockers that you get to If you're gonna be there for a while, you get to secure your stuff in a locker, just tiny little locker that you would have in schools where you could put your books. So something like that. But at the end of my on the second floor I was staying also was an extra room for men, because like I said, way more men in these shelters than women. So at the end was another big room, and I think it had, I don't know, 4 or 5 beds, just the same, that accommodated the men. But the idea was to kind of keep us separate, because of course it's not, even though you might end up there as couples or as a couple, it was meant that you have to, if you're a man, you stay in the men's quarters, and the women do the same, stay in the women's quarters. So now in this shelter also there was this refter, so this cafeteria where you get a warm meal every evening. The food is not prepared there. You go up to like the 3rd floor. On that same floor, so it's a big cafeteria where everybody come and eat, and you pay like €2.50 a night, so €2.50 every night. So you would get a bill at the end of the month or something like that. A lot of these people who are in these shelters are actually people who are on welfare, and so I wasn't on welfare. I was working, just that I was sick and I was away from work, so I was being paid by the insurance company, and that's another story. But so everybody would get to go to the cafeteria in the evenings, and you know, you go with your plates and you get your meals, and they're sharing like mashed potatoes, and they had fruits. Sometimes they had pastries like as desserts after you're done. And this cafeteria is open, because the shelter itself is open at 8 o'clock in the evening. So it's open until around 9:30. So from 8 o'clock till 9:30, you are able to go, you know, eat a warm meal. On that same floor, there was a washer. You can, once a week, you get to make your slot. You know, there's a time slot for you, and you can do your laundry there, but they only give you soap, so there's no softener, nothing to make it sweet at the end, or unless you want to bring your own. But they provide you soap, and you can get to wash your clothes there and all of that. There's a washer and there's a dryer, or there are a few washing machines and a few dryers. Now, there's also a quiet room that they call it. There is a smoke room. A lot of these people happen to smoke. Most of them in there are smokers. A lot of them are drug addicts and all that kind of stuff. And also a few decent people who ended up in there innocently, like myself. So there's a smoke room. Obviously, that wasn't for me. And then there was another room where you could play like ping pong, table tennis, or whatever. So that's as much as what you have access to. So those were the only facilities that they had there for us, because, you know, when you go in at 8 o'clock, it's, you know, you have something to do. You can go chat and mingle and play and whatever, and do what you do. Those who smoke, they smoke together and they chat it up and whatever. Or you can go inside and go directly after you've eaten. You can shower before you eat or after, whichever way. But the bathrooms are closed, both for men and women, at around 10 o'clock. So after you would have gotten the chance to come inside and you would have eaten and everything, you still would have a little bit of time to go shower after you would have eaten. And a lot of the times I would shower at my daughter's place, because obviously this is a place where I am seeing people that I've never seen before, I've never met before. They're all strangers, all kinds of people from different countries. Very few of them are from this country, Belgium. So, you know, it was like, you know, I was really happy that I was still able to like shower at my daughter's place and eat at my daughter's place sometimes. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't want to abuse the situation with her place, so I just did it sometimes, you know. Now, in the beginning, when I just went there in March, it was really the end of March, I think around the 20-something, in the 20th, somewhere down in the 20th of March. I was still a vegan at the time, so what they were serving was absolutely not for me in their cafeteria. I would have already eaten. Sometimes I eat poke bowl outside. I would buy my food, or whatever I could make at my daughter's, I would have done so. Now, all of my stuff pretty much were in the container at this time, like I mentioned earlier. So I wasn't able to make my green juices and, my life just went into a major disruption, because it's one thing to, have to give up your apartment and go live with a family or a friend, versus going to a shelter where they're absolute strangers. The disruption in my life was, I can't even explain it. It was major, major, major. Anyways, I tried my best to adapt to it as, best way possible. Now, the rule was that you could go and sleep outside. So there are 7 days in a week. You have 3 nights that you can sleep outside. The other 4 you have to sleep, because then to them, it's an indication that you do not need the shelter. If you are able to sleep 7 nights outside, then you don't need the shelter, obviously. Leave it for someone else who does, for other people who do. So that's what happened. I was able to sleep with my daughter's place. The only place I would get to sleep at. There's absolutely nobody else I could sleep with here. I don't have family here. I don't have friends here apart from my kids. So my daughter's place, I would sleep sometimes. Sometimes she would be gone, to visit her boyfriend and whatever. And I would have her place to get. Sometimes I would sleep with her. Young teenagers and young adults, they want to be sleeping with mommy, and that's understandable and whatever. So, but either way, I wasn't able to sleep outside so much. But every day I was calling this place to secure my bed. You have to call because your situation can change. So you have to do it. You have to renew your spot to secure your bed every day. Okay, so that's what I had to do. Now, after a while, you get to secure, because then you get an assistant, and that assistant in the dispatch place works alongside you, and of course, like I said, based on your situation, and so they would know in the direction where you're going and all of that, the trajectory of your life in the next few months or so. I would have an idea, basically. So it turned out that I ended up after a few weeks of calling every day. I ended up securing my bed long term, more like on a 2 weeks period or something like that. So my bed would be secured for like 2 weeks and blah, blah, blah. And it's something that was followed up, and you have someone working with you to help you with apartments and so, because the idea is not for you to come and stay there. No. Based on your situation, of course, it's meant to accommodate you so you're not left on the streets, especially it was winter, like I said. So the meaning of it is for you to just have there as an emergency, like a backup, just so you're not on the street. So it's only in emergency situations. That is why I said earlier, it's something you would have to call, and you have to tell your story, and then depending on what your situation is, then you would be eligible to go to the shelter, which was what happened in my case. Now, I ended up securing my bed, long story short. Secured my bed for more long term. Now, I was at this shelter from March till September. Now, in this period, I would get up every day. You have to leave the shelter. As I was saying also, there are rules, and everything is the time. So you come in at a certain time. The bathrooms are shut off at a certain time. Well, not the toilets, obviously, but the shower, the bathrooms, the showers, and so they lock that up after 10 o'clock or 10:30, something like that. I don't remember exactly clearly in my head, but it was around something like that, where you have to be showered. If not, you're doomed. Either you shower somewhere before you come inside, or when you come inside, you shower before it's close off time. Now, you have to be in your room. Oh, and there was little places where you could sit out. There were little couches, that was in the open, like when you go upstairs at the first floor, right there in the living area. It's not, I don't know if it's the living area, but there are just chairs, couches that you can chill with, little tables, and you just sit there. You can talk to your family or friends, or you could be on your phone doing your own thing, minding your own business. So yes, they had these on different floors. Now they also provide you from the office. There's toilet paper and shower gel and shaving cream for men and all of that. They provide that. So you go to the office and they give you, because remember now, a lot of people are in here in this shelter because they're in like dire situations. So chances you won't really have any money. Chances are, you know, you have lost everything depending on what your situation is. So they do provide these little things for you, like shower gel, toilet paper. You don't have to worry. You can even use deodorants. Maybe they'll put a bottle there and you can go use it. It's not per person. Everybody gets to use. Just little toiletries that they, you know, they give access to. You get access to. Now at 11 o'clock, and they even give you clothes, because a lot of people, like for example, if you have clothes that you don't want anymore and it could be useful to other people, you can go and donate it. It's kind of like a Salvation Army kind of thing, where you bring your clothes, things you don't need anymore and could be useful for other people. You drop it off. They have this big room that you can go, and if you need a shirt or you need something, they have a key. They will bring it to the room, and there are ton loads of clothes, big boxes with different shoes and jeans and all kinds of stuff there that you can find useful to you. You know, like I said, if you're so in need. Now, obviously that wasn't my situation. Now, at 11 o'clock, everybody would have to go to their room, shut their phones off. You cannot use your phone. So I'm in this room with 10 other women. Sometimes it's a little bit less. It could be 5 women, depending on how full the house is. It could be 5 women, 10 of us, whatever. So I was under the bottom bunk at first, and a few weeks I'm on the top bunk, and everybody's assigned a bed. So, under your name, you're bed number 8, bed number 12, whatever the situation is. So yeah, that's how it was. So you would have to put your phone away. You cannot be in the room, because remember, we have to respect that other people are in the room and other people are sleeping, and when it's bedtime, it's just bedtime. You can get sanctions, of course, if you don't go by the rules, if you fight, and if they're just little things that you are not allowed to do. Otherwise, you go on the freaking street. So simple it is. Because no matter where it is, you have to have rules. And in this shelter was no different. And also, if you do not make it inside, it's your prerogative to be inside by 8 o'clock. Now, if it is a situation where you have something urgent dealing with, let's say you ended up in the hospital and the time overlapped and you're not in by 8 o'clock, it's your responsibility to call and say, okay, I'm going to be late, blah, blah, blah. There's always a number you can call. And if you're going to be late, or I'm going to be 30 minutes late, or whatever the situation is. Because I remember many times in this period, in this 6-month period, let me see, May, June, July, August, September, 6 months, yes. I remember I would have to get up in the mornings, and I would have all these appointments that I would have to run to, of course, because I would be on a hunt for apartments, because of course I didn't want to have to stay in this damn place. I mean, all kinds of people, nasty ass people. I mean, I say nasty ass people. I'm telling you, this place was not normal. A few decent ones, but oh my God, you have all kinds of, oh geez. But anyways, and sleeping in a room with 10 other women, and if they fart, you have to smell it. They snore, some of them are not so clean, and they don't smell so good. And I mean, OMG. You could leave a window open for a little bit to let a little bit fresh air in and whatever, but I am telling you, it was disgusting. Now, in my case, what happened was a lot of times I had to call to tell that I would be a little bit late, because sometimes I would have appointments to look at apartments or houses even way down in the evenings, because some people who are renters, what they will do after they have left work, whatever, if it's 5 or 6 o'clock they leave work or whatever, they will make an appointment after that, so you can go see if they want to show you without going through one of the agencies. So they would show you personally, and when they're done with work, that's when you get to go. And depending on how far it is, so I could be caught up looking at apartments and then having to travel back, and it would get over into 8 o'clock or even 8:30. So depending on all of that, it's my responsibility to call, and you have to have a valid reason to be late. If you are going to be late and you don't have a real valid reason, then you get to sleep outside. And it's always up to the discretion of the social workers, because they're pretty much social workers, those people in there. So that is how it is. And every morning, of course, so like I said, at 11 o'clock, all gadgets are put away. Your phones, your this, whatever. There's place for you to charge your phones. You get your, and every Tuesday, I think. So you get to keep your fresh linen for a week. You get you get to choose every, like, so for example, every Tuesday, I don't remember if it was every Tuesday, but every Tuesday evening, there's a big rack downstairs when you just come in, and you choose a fresh pillowcase, a fresh cover sheet, and a fresh like bedspread. So these are single beds, they're bunk beds. So you get to change them off, and there's a big bag that's put right in the hallway. Everybody just puts it out in there in the morning or whatever. But you get to change every week, so you have fresh. You can always bring your personal stuff. Like I said, of course, I didn't really bring my own sheets or anything like that, but because I was willing to work with what they were offering as far as that is. But you know, there are personal things that I of course had for myself. And at one point I ended up getting a locker also, because in the beginning, for a few months in the beginning, I was traveling back and forth with everything, and then it became so annoying, you know, and stressful. So I ended up getting a locker, and then you have to be qualified for a locker after a period also. So anyways, in the mornings now, you get to there was a wake up time, so everybody had to be up by 7:15. You have to be up by 7:15, so that gives you enough time to run upstairs. The kitchen is open at that time. There are boiled eggs, you know, there's bread, you can get your coffee, you can get tea, there's sometimes fresh fruits. Now, I almost never go to their breakfast. I was never a breakfast person in the first place, but at least for me, the things that they were offering, I wasn't a bread person at the time before my diet changed again. Obviously, it has changed now, but over the past year. But in that period when I just went, I was vegan. They were not offering vegan stuff. So morning breakfast and all of this kind of stuff with cheese, and so absolutely wasn't for me. So I almost never went to breakfast. After a few months being there, I started, sometimes I had no choice but to eat some of what they were prepared, what they have prepared, and what they had to present to us as a meal. So yeah, that ended up happening, where I ended up having to adjust to, you know, that kind of food. And then I wasn't eating vegan anymore slowly, and you know, because like I said, this disruption in my life and whatever. But that's also another topic to itself, that I have a video for that, with how I, you know, gained so much weight and the eating and all of that, and with the whole disruption in my life that made me fall off the wagon and derailed from, and I'm not so focused, because I was in hunt mode at this point. You know, I was just so desperate to get an apartment. So every day when I come out of this shelter, what I would do, I would have 4 or 5 appointments lined up, and I would go, and it's all zigzag, and I would be all over the place looking at apartments. And that's what I used up my days to do. And with that, I ended up getting, you know, off track with my lifestyle and my routine. So I wasn't going in the gym so much. I was willing to put all of that on the hold just so I could find an apartment and get stability and find my own place again and all of that. So that let me take this off for a little bit. So that's how that ended up playing out, and that's how I ended up getting derailed with my diet and all of that stuff. Just being in that place and not having it. At one point, I ended up on the welfare, because it took me a while. I was supposed to go back to work. Now these people are saying, no, I have to find me a place first. They want me to be stable before I come back to work. And being homeless, they wouldn't want me to be at work with all of that stress. So that was also another stress of its own, all in itself. So that's something else. But the idea is, every morning when I woke up, and you had to be out of there, as I was saying, you had to be out of that place by 8:15. So they will wake you up anywhere between 7:15, and you can go take a shower, and you can go upstairs to the cafeteria where they provide the breakfast and whatever. But whatever happens, you have to be out of there by 8:15. Now, these people were working, they were working 12-hour shift, and they want to go home after having worked for the whole night. So that is what happened. Yeah, so you had to be out of there. Where you go during the daytime is your business. That's up to you and you alone. So you better have something to do or something, because you don't get to stay inside, whether it's raining outside, whether it's snowing outside, whatever the weather might be. It's your problem to have something to do during the day, because that was only a night shelter. Now fast forward to September, I was transferred because I still wasn't successful with all this search for apartments. I still was not successful in finding anything after I was searching like a dog. But anyways, September, they upgraded me, because this would be like an upgrade now, to a women's shelter where there are only women. Now this place was just so much smaller, and